Welcome to Ideas to Implementation, the podcast for women who have a business idea but feel stuck in a job. Featuring real women with real stories of how they went from employee to boss. My guest today is Barbara Mutedzi. So welcome, Barbara. Thanks for coming on the show. How are you?
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Simone. I'm very well. I'm doing very well today. It's been nice and rainy in Harare at the moment, which is good, just to clear the air and just to bring in some fresh air as well. And the plants obviously are looking lovely and green and just gobbling up the water. So that's always a plus.
Yeah, of course. That's beautiful. It's very sunny here actually, which is unusual. So that's good. Very good. So tell us about yourself and your business. What is it that you do?
So I'm a conscious leadership coach, and I work with people who manage other people. So anyone who's a leader, whether in the home environment or workspace or business space, and I help them sharpen their leadership skills so that they can increase their own performance as leaders, and then also influence other people that they're leading or serving or look after to increase their own performance. And when everyone's performance is increased, then obviously there's more impact across, right? And if it's like in business, when there's high performance and there's higher impact, then obviously you bring in more profit into your business and everyone is happy. So it becomes a win-win solution for customers, for employees, for your family, for yourself, and the nations start to grow. So that's where my focus is. And with time, I'm going to be starting to coach national leaders as well. So that's quite exciting, just to make sure that everyone in the world is connected, because we are spiritual beings who are living a human life. So essentially we are connected. And so whatever we do to ourselves, it impacts another person. So my journey is to enlighten or remind each other that we are connected and we all have something to bring to the table. And when we all bring our uniqueness to the table, then everyone benefits, including ourselves. So that's what I do in my coaching.
Wow, yeah, brilliant. So what did you do before starting your own business?
So my background is a master's in medical anthropology, and it's research-based. And I've also got social anthropology, and I'm a health and community psychologist. So I used to work in NGOs, just doing research work, mostly qualitative research. And what I started doing was I realized, so I'm an introvert. I realized that I could never work in an environment with lots of people because I got distracted very quickly. And for me to be able to do the kind of work that I wanted to do, which was a lot of data analysis from the research that we're collecting, I needed quiet time. But the offices that I was involved in were sort of offices where they were open plan offices. So it was really difficult for me to work in that environment. And also I'm an early riser, so I wake up between 2:30 and 3 a.m. almost every day.
Wow.
And so by the time I get to the office at 8, I've done at least 3 or 4 hours of work. And so I always saw myself ahead of everyone, and then I would get frustrated or irritated because everyone else was behind. Not on any fault of theirs, it was because of my own schedule. And I've been waking up early for as long as I remember, from grade school, which is like 3 decades ago. So it's in me. So it's in me to wake up early. And I found that I'm a morning person, and not a morning person in the generic sense of term, as opposed, a lot of people see morning person as, when you say I'm a morning person, they think, okay, you're bubbly and happy and want to go out and do things in the morning. But actually, I'm a morning person, but to be by myself and to do work. And then maybe during, mid-morning, later on in the afternoon, then I can start interacting. So that did not fit well in the 8 to 5 job.
I can see.
So I really struggled with that. And before I knew what introvertedness and extrovertedness was, I really struggled. But once I started to understand my own personality and my own character, I started embracing different parts of who I was and to stop fighting it, it became very clear for me that the 8 to 5 does not work, because my productivity levels are different for most people. And I do wake up pretty early and then start working straight away. So it did not fit well in the puzzle that was within the 8 to 5 job. So what I did then start was, well, I really do want to work by myself. I still want to do the things that I enjoy. I did enjoy research, and I still do, because I'm a very inquisitive person.
Okay.
So even when I'm coaching, my coaching is all about asking you questions. It's your life, and we all have answers to the questions that we're looking for and the meanings that we're looking for in our lives. But sometimes we ask the same questions over and over again, expecting a different answer, and it doesn't work, right? That's the definition of insanity.
Yeah.
So the questions that I ask are really deep questions that get you to start thinking and digging deeper within you, so that you can now find those answers that have been inherently within you. So then what I did was, well, I couldn't start my business straight away because A, I did not have any money to start a business. B, I did not know how to start a business. So I started doing consultancy work during the weekends and in the evenings when I'd finished my 8 to 5 work. So I could dip my toes into seeing how working for myself would work. Because in theory, I knew I could do it, but in practice, I wasn't sure. So I thought, okay, let me engage with other researchers who are doing consultancy work, and I can start sort of slowly, bit by bit, leave this 8 to 5 job space. And that helped me actually, because as I started working with other people who were seasoned consultants, I started also asking them questions around how they did it. And I started building my home office bit by bit. So one month I'll save money and buy a printer. The next month I buy office equipment. The next month I make sure I have a desk and a work area at home. So I accumulated things over time. So what actually happened was I created what is called an exit strategy. So I said to myself, in a year's time, I want to be doing consultancy work. So consultancy was a leg up toward owning my own business and starting my own business. So I thought, okay, I've got a year. What am I worried about? What's my biggest fear? And my biggest fear at that time was paying bills. Well, if I jump into consultancy and have my own business, who's going to pay my bills? What if things don't work? So addressing our fears actually works, because what it then does, it forces you to say, okay, what are my fears and what are the contingency plans I can put in place as much as possible? So then what I did was I accumulated money in that year. I paid my bills 6 months in advance, everything, so that I gave myself 6 months for me to be able to now sit and not panic and worry about money. So I paid my rent, I paid my bills, I paid my medical insurance. I made sure I had some money put aside for food, for fuel. So everything was covered. I had no excuse. And at that stage, I then also started my retirement fund. So retirement in quotes, because I don't believe in actually retiring. And maybe I'm saying that because I'm a bit young, I don't know. But I started having a retirement investment fund as a fallback plan if my business and consultancy wouldn't take off right from the word bat. So that was my exit strategy. And then in that year as well, I made sure that I started looking for contacts of other people who I had done consultancy work with. And started having more conversations with them to say, you know, I want to branch out in a year's time. This is what I'm doing. What advice do you have? What should I do? And all of that stuff. And what should I be looking out for? As a consultant, what taxes do I need to be looking for? What do I need to pay the government and things like that? So that year as an exit strategy was really foundational in collecting information, in making sure I addressed all my fears. And it wasn't easy, because fear will always be there. That's one thing we don't realize. It will always be there, and we get to do what we want to do with the fear that we have. Courage is being afraid but doing it anyway.
Definitely.
So we just jump off the cliff and we grow our wings on our way down. And if we bruised, that's okay. We get stronger from that, or we learn from it, right? There's no such thing as failure, because there's always something to learn. There's always something to grow from. And, you know, a lot of people then say, well, how did you know that you wanted to do this? And the answer I'm going to give sounds easy. No, it actually sounds difficult, but it's actually easy. And I'll explain. Whatever brings you joy, whatever you're curious about, the things that spark whatever is inside you, follow that.
Yeah.
If you're curious about something, go and get more information. If there's something that makes you happy, go and do it more. Because these little things, these little sparks of joy, these things that sort of tug at you to say, hey, there's something in there. I call them little breadcrumbs that our spirit leaves along our life journey to guide us to where we need to be. Because our soul and our spirit knows why we're here. And each of us has something to bring to the table. And the world needs our service in whichever way that we can, especially if we have a skill set that we enjoy using. Because that's the other thing, isn't it? There's a difference between what you're good at and what you enjoy doing.
Oh, a big difference.
So, I know, right? So when you enjoy the things that you're doing, it becomes easier for you to serve at a higher level. When you do the things that you're good at but don't enjoy them, it becomes a means to an end.
Yeah.
And with time, you will fizzle out.
Yeah,
and
that's the link to the passion, doesn't it? Because our passion fuels then our performance. So without
absolutely.
that, we'll fail.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I can see that you're very passionate about what you do. It's really good, and I love the whole research element of it. So you didn't just sort of jump and say, okay, I want to start my own business, but actually you took time, developed an exit strategy, and took time to research and really, so you were well prepared. And I think that sometimes maybe what people miss starting a business is that they just jump from self-employment and haven't really thought through. Brilliant. So, I mean, what was your sort of biggest barrier to, so obviously you did a lot of preparation, but there were always barriers along the way. What was your sort of biggest barrier to starting your business?
Fear. Fear of the unknown. And then with time, it was fear of success as well.
Yes.
So, and that's why it was important for me to sit down with my fears, because I did not want them to stop me. I've been doing coaching on the side for a long time. Because of my own background as a child, I had to become an adult quickly because my biological parents died when I was very young. So I had to grow up mentally very quickly. And so a lot of people would come to me for advice because they saw that I had matured much quicker than my peers. And it was very fine that I was giving other people advice, but if I wasn't taking my own advice, then I'm being a hypocrite, right?
Yeah.
So I then had to sit down with my fears and say, what am I afraid of and why? Where do I need to get more information? And the thing I love about fear is, and this might seem odd that I love fear. I love it because it's like a little button that is pushing you to say, maybe go get a bit more information in this area. Okay. The only reason you're afraid is because you don't have enough information. And so you're making your own assumptions. So go get more information and then move forward, but don't stop. So one of the coaches that I listen to a lot is Lisa Nichols.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and she talks about don't put fear in your driver's seat of your life. Put your purpose in your driver's seat. So your purpose is that little thing that tugs at you, that says, go do this. This makes you feel happy. You're contributing to the masses. You're doing all this stuff that's brilliant and people need it and you're good at it. Why not, right? Yeah. That's your purpose, that's driving force. That's your passion. And then if you put fear in the driver's seat, fear will be like, no, not today.
Yeah.
You don't have enough money. Who do you think you are? Whatever voice is in your head. Yeah. So then it's like a start, stop. So you don't get anywhere. Yeah. And she says, put seat in the driver's, in the passenger seat, right? Because once in a while you need to speak to fear and say, okay, what do I need to learn more? But not tell me where I want to go because I know where I want to go.
Exactly.
And I take it a step further to say, put seat in the boot, fear in the boot, because you don't want to be seeing fear all the time. And then once a month, once a week, a scheduled time, take it out of the boot, sit down with it and say, okay, what are we afraid of today? Let's tackle that. Once that's tackled, put fear back in the boot and then go your way. And that's the only way, because life is short. You know, one of the difficult questions I ask people, it's not a difficult question, but people find it difficult because we don't talk about death. So one of the things I get people to do right from the beginning when I'm coaching is to write down their obituary, and say, at your funeral, I need you to tell me who you would like to stand up. And what would you like them to ideally say about the life that you've lived if you were to die today?
Wow.
And then the question is, okay, if you really were to die today, are they going to really say that? And do you know when you're going to die? Give me a day and a time. Because if we had a day and a time, then you can plan your life accordingly, right? You could say, okay, this year I'll do this year I'll do that, blah, blah, blah. But we don't know when we're going to die. So what are you waiting for? So following our passions, following those things that we are curious about is so important. And sometimes it's not easy when you're coming from a family that knows one way.
Yeah.
And it's not pointing of fingers to families or people around us or anything, because that's all they also know, right? And they are loving you in the way they know how to love you. But it's up to you as an individual to say, I love this information. This is what I'm going to use, and this is not useful for me right now. What is useful for me? And then move forward with that. And speaking about this whole interconnectedness and fear, we have to find out what we are afraid of. And when we go and get more information in different spaces, it becomes more clear. So one of the things I really harp about is we should never discriminate other people. Because when you look at trees, they're standing apart, yes, above the surface, but underneath their roots are all intertwined with plants and grass and each other. And the world is like that, despite your religion or your color or your size or your gender. And gender before was a challenge for me, because other thing is I look much younger than what I am.
Right, okay.
And living in a patriarchal society, it's so difficult for people to listen, not because they want anything out of you, but just to listen, to give you that platform to listen. So when you don't cultivate your own voice, it is so suppressing for your own spirit and your own emotion. And so we need to be aware, we need to be more conscious of how we can start cultivating our voice and our skill sets in environments that are helpful. And that may be a different environment what you grew up in, and that's also okay.
Definitely. So on that point then, so cultivating your voice, obviously with regard to your own business, you need clients. Without clients, there's no business. So how did you go about cultivating your voice, getting your voice out there, letting people know what you were doing so that they would come to you for your service?
Yeah. So again, I started in the space that I was at, and I always hear this, and it only started clicking in my head like years after. But start from where you are.
Right.
And I'll give you an example. So when someone says, well, start where you are, in my head, it's like, no, but I don't have this, I don't have that. So how can I start? And when I started reflecting, I knew I could coach people. I knew I wanted to coach people. I felt joy from that. And I was curious about the different ways of coaching. I started off as a life coach, then I became a mindset coach, then a high performance coach, then a neuroscience-based coach, then a conscious leadership coach, because I keep going through education to also enhance myself, because I can only bring people up to the level of my skill set. And if I stop researching and learning, I can never continue helping people, because we're all dynamic human beings. So if I'm to go back to my research work, I knew as I was doing research that I loved doing capacity building and training people and coaching people. So I went to my HR department and said, I want to start coaching people in the organization. I will still do the duties that you hired me to do. I have no problem with that, because I'm a high performer anyway, and I get things done in 2 hours, whereas everyone else in the department gets them done in 8 hours. So I'm okay. I've got time in my hands. I love coaching people, and we have a group of interns and young professionals who've just joined the organization. I would like to take them under my wing so I can help them grow professionally and personally, and that will contribute to the business. So A, I knew what I wanted. B, I wasn't reneging on the duties that I was hired for. 3, I offered an opportunity for me to benefit, as well as the interns, as well as the organization. So it was a win-win scenario and everything.
Yeah.
And then whilst I was coaching the young people, I started creating programs around the topics that they were interested in, because they essentially became my first customers.
Of course.
So the program started growing through that. And then when I was doing now consultancy by myself, I was now encountering adults who were also going through similar challenges. So I'd use the same template or programs that I was using for the young professionals with the adults, and obviously adjusting here and there. And then with time, as I had my own business, obviously I started curating and making all the coaching and all the programs tailor-made. So it grew from that space. So for me, that's how I started with where I was.
Yeah.
What could I, where I was, and then grew from that. So that sort of space helped me, because the other thing is, because I'm such an introvert, I'm a thinker. So it does take, I do like going step by step.
Yeah.
Most of them. And then there are times I'm like, oh, I'm just going to jump and just try it out. So it's also good to know what kind of character you have.
Yes.
And work with that as a start, because it's an easier way of getting in, at least for me. But you're for a person who says, I want to do everything, I want to jump in, jump, and then learn as you go.
Wow.
So always start from where you are. All the reasons that we give ourselves not to do the things that we know we want to do and we should do are really just excuses.
Wow, I love that. Start from where you are. So last, I mean, tell us how do you balance? Obviously, you do a lot, and I can tell you're passionate about your work. But how do you balance that, or do you balance it with life and family or whatever? How do you balance?
So I've always struggled with the question around balance, because I don't actually believe that there is such thing as balance. And maybe that's an area that I also need to figure out and research and learn. But for now, what I can say is it's easy for me to make sure that I am looking after myself as I'm doing my work. Yeah. Because my work is intertwined with who I am as a person. So I love to read. I love to learn new things. I love to research. And I love being alone at home. And because I work from home, I don't go out as much. My clients come to me either online or in person. Or once in a while, I go and do workshops or speaking engagements, but that's not every day. What I've realized that has helped for me, and what is an important thing for all my clients when they come to me, is to have a diary that's got dates and times in it. And it's divided into three. We have a morning routine, we have the day routine, and then the evening routine. And in that whole day, all aspects of my life are included. So when my morning routine, for example, I wake up, I read, I meditate, I exercise, I then do most of my emails and all the messaging that needs to go through. That's my morning routine. During the day, then I start working on all the research, making sure my worksheets for my clients are done, making sure all my business stuff is all sorted, and I'm okay. And in that time as well, if I feel like I need to take a nap, I give myself an hour to just rest, whether it's reading or taking a nap or eating, whatever it is. And then at the end of the day, I have an evening routine. And the evening routine is my phone is switched off at 5 p.m. Every evening, it's off. And I am reading, I am watching something on Netflix perhaps, I am resting my body and my mind, I am meditating, so that by the time I go to bed, I am in a calm mode so that I can have quality sleep. Yeah. And so each day is scheduled in a way that it encompasses as much of my life as possible. And then obviously once a week or maybe once a month, there are things that need a lot of your time and effort. And so a lot of things might fall off the wayside. But if in general, your life is structured in a way that it includes all of these things that we need in our lives, even if it's to go for coffee, to take yourself out for coffee or for a walk, whatever you enjoy, even if it's a movie, make sure it's scheduled, whether it's date night with your partner, whether it's coloring time with your kids, everything has to be scheduled, because whatever gets scheduled, 99% of the time gets done.
I agree with that.
So that's what has happened with, if I could use the word balance, that's how I've managed to balance the majority of my life intertwined with my business.
Good. No, I agree with that. And I love scheduling. I really do believe in that scheduling in and scheduling family time, nap time, rest time, because that's important. We're our whole well-being, so, and it's mental, physical, everything. So lastly, just in short, 3 pieces of advice for a woman who maybe wants to start a business but hasn't had the confidence to. What 3 pieces of advice would you give?
Ooh, only 3?
Yeah, in amongst all the advice you've given.
You are stronger than you think you are.
Okay.
Go for it. Your soul and your spirit knows why you're here. Follow that inner voice and be bigger than what you are right now.
Awesome. Love that. So lastly, Barbara, how do people get in touch with you, connect with you, to your website, social media, etc.?
So I am on most of the social media platforms. I am mostly on Instagram. So you find me under my full name, which is Barbara Mutedzi. I'm on Twitter here and there, B Mutedzi. I'm also on LinkedIn. I write a lot of articles around business and managing teams on LinkedIn under my full name again, which is Barbara Mutedzi. And best of all, my website, which is called designyourlifefoundation.com, as one word. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's just been great speaking to you. So much advice, wisdom, and good luck with everything that you do. I knew it will be great. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Ideas to Implementation. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time.